Today I have cleaning and organizing secrets, mom edition for you. I'm going to share some of my best tried and true cleaning and organizing tips and tricks, and I've got a couple non-toxic and very fun to make and use cleaning products that you can even make with your kids. I know one of mine in particular really enjoys helping me make non-toxic cleaning products. I'm also going to be sharing ways to help you figure out how to get your kids to pitch in a little bit more. This video is going to be a little bit longer than most. I know a lot of you like the 20-minute range. This one's going to be longer. I will have chapters below, but feel free to watch this video in segments or parts. I promise it will be worth your time. We have a homestead, so a little farm. We have a bigger family and we homeschool, so our home gets pretty messy at times. So if these tips and tricks for cleaning and organizing work for me, they are going to work for you too. I've got 6 kids that the Lord has given me to somehow figure out how to civilize. And as you can see by these scenes, I have got my work cut out for me. Our home is in a complete disarray right now because we have been focusing so much of our time and energy in other areas like school lessons and gardening and farming. And as you can see by these scenes, our home is just a delicious mess right now. I'm going to tell you the truth though. Our home can go from being spick and span to looking like this within a day or two. When you're a large family and you don't send your kids off to school in the day and you homeschool them and you live in the space, and then of course having a farm on top of it, you know, it's life and it happens. One of my favorite things to remember is a saying that I read on one of Lisa Jacobson's blogs almost 20 years ago. And it goes like this: life gets messy, so just roll up your sleeves and clean up. That's what we're going to be doing today. All right, so my first tip is to drop the kids to pick up their own messes. Because let's face it, what else are they going to be doing while you're cleaning? They're going to be making more messes and banging on the drums. While the kiddos are cleaning their rooms and their downstairs playroom messes, thought it would be a good idea to start out with making some cleaning supplies since we're going to need those for cleaning the house. First cleaning agent that I really love for descaling things is about 2 cups of vinegar. You can warm it up if you want to. It works a little bit better if you do, but you don't have to. And about 1/4 cup of citric acid. This makes the most phenomenal descaler. You can actually see it foaming, and when it's done foaming, it's pretty much done working. This stuff works so fast, it only takes about a minute, and then you just take a damp cloth and you wipe clean the surfaces. You don't want to use this on any quartz or granite countertops though. So if it gets on those, you want to clean it off right away. The second cleaner is super simple. This is something I learned that I can do recently. I've got a couple cups of water right here, and I'm just going to add some essential oils. I love lemon for cleaning, and then I'm going to add a tiny little bit of pure castile soap, and it's probably only a teaspoon or 2 of the castile soap, and this is what I'll use on my countertops because it's a super gentle cleaner and it's not going to corrode the countertops. So many cleaners out there that I found, they eat away at the quartz or granite countertops, and it's just not pretty after time. So I was really excited to learn I could make a much more gentle countertop cleaner myself and far more affordably. This cleaner, I don't even know that it costs whole pennies. Little tip, especially if you have kids and family members in the house that clean, which I hope you do, so it's not all on you, but for the other members of the household, it's helpful to label all of your cleaners. So this one is labeled counters, so everybody knows it's the one for the counters. Don't use it on anything else, and don't use anything else on the counters. I cannot take credit for this next cleaner. I got this idea from one of my favorite channels. The channel's called Simply Scandish Home. I love Noemi's channel over there. She's got some of the best cleaning ideas. This one is where we just take lemon peels and lime peels and we put them in a jar with pine needles. One of my boys went out and got the pine needles for me. First he went and got fir thinking they were pine. I'm like, these aren't gonna work. They don't even smell. So give me some pine. So he went back out and he got me pine. And the next thing we do is we put these all in a jar and we fill the jar up with vinegar. Now what happens is eventually the vinegar smell dissipates and this smells like lemon and pine. And you can mix some Castile soap with this too. I wouldn't do very much once you get in your spray bottle, but this is just a nice all-purpose general cleaner. Another cleaner that I love to make and that I use all of the time because of how effective it is my own homemade soft scrub. So for my recipe, I use about 2 cups of baking soda, about a teaspoon of essential oil. Again, I love lemon, but peppermint and lavender are also great. In fact, this time I use peppermint and I'm going to be using it more often. It was luxurious and it smelled so clean to clean with. Next, I add about 2 tablespoons to 1/4 cup of Castile soap. And after that, I just add enough water to make this the consistency of paste that I prefer to clean with. You might want it thicker, you might want it thinner, so definitely go with your own preferences with that. The tricky trick is to mix this completely and thoroughly in your KitchenAid or with some other kind of blending device. This is seriously my favorite cleaner, but you want to make sure you keep it covered tightly and make sure it stays airtight. A nice alternative to this is to do 2 cups of baking soda and about 1/2 cup of powdered citric acid that you've powdered maybe in a blender, and a couple tablespoons of soap. Mix it in the KitchenAid and use it as a dry cleanser. Both of these work very well, speedily and efficiently for bathtubs, sinks, and even toilets. They're great for removing soap scum and buildup. Additional cleaners I like to have on hand are Synchex from Azure Standard. It works wonderful for odors. And then Barkeeper's Friend. Barkeeper's Friend is a little less toxic from what I have heard, so it's a little bit of a safer cleaner. This Synchex, though, if you've got boys, you know what I'm talking about. Bathroom smells. So once you're done cleaning around toilets, if you've got boys, you know that sometimes the smell still lingers. This stuff, make sure it doesn't. See, I've got log, so it absorbs everything. So if my boys use my bathroom, yeah, I don't think we need to even explain more. This stuff is an enzyme cleaner, so it gets rid of urine odors quickly. You can smell freshness for days after using this stuff, so I highly recommend it. Next up, we have something else that I can't take credit for. Again, this came from Simply Scandish Home. My kids will even watch Simply Scandish Home with me. And in one of Noemi's previous videos, she had a deodorizer. All she did was took baking soda and essential oils. So my little girl saw that and she was so excited. She's been begging to make some every day since she saw that video. So today we made some together. We used some essential oils and baking soda. We mixed it in the KitchenAid and put it in jars. And then you top it with wax paper just like this. Poke holes in the top. I have to be honest, I don't even know where my daughter stashed all of these little deodorizers that we made, but we had fun making them together. If you would like your kids to help out around the house with cleaning more than they do, it helps to have a talk with them about what jobs they might prefer to do. It also helps to explain why we do certain tasks like cleaning the floors or making sure the countertops are clean in the kitchen. Talk about germs and how cleaning helps keep us healthier. But ultimately, if you let your kids have a say in what tools they use to clean with, it's easier to get them on board. So our little guy here did not like cleaning the floors until he got to use this electric mop. I don't think I've heard him complain once about doing the floors as long as he can use this electric mop. I've tried a lot of dusters in my time, and the one that beats them all, in my opinion, is the Swiffer. It does such a good job. I like how it gets into crevices in small areas that a regular dusting cloth can't fit into. And I love how it attracts the dust. A final nifty cleaner that I'll show you today is simply hydrogen peroxide. It's a lot safer than bleach. It's non-toxic. I use straight hydrogen peroxide to clean my butcher block and cutting boards. It works perfectly to sanitize them, and it's not a complete poison like bleach or something like that would be. I feel like a good place to start talking about cleaning and organizing secrets, Mom Edition, is in the beginning, and the beginning is the entry to me. Let's talk about how entries can make a big impact in helping your home stay organized. Right now, I'm redoing our entry. The entry is the first thing you see when you enter your home. So in my opinion, it's kind of a big deal. Some entryway basics are to have mats outside your door. I have about 3 actually outside mine because we have a farm, and shoes coming in our home are quite dirty. Another entryway basic is to have good flooring that will withstand rocks, mud, water on shoes coming in, or to have a washable throw rug that you can put in the washing machine. I invested a couple of years ago in some ruggables, and I wish I hadn't. I do not like them. The edges curl constantly, and they take all kinds of ironing and care to get them to lay flat, and I just don't have time for that. So I don't recommend ruggables, but I do recommend getting some kind of a washable rug. In your entryway, it's kind of wise to have some kind of a system for mail ingoing and outgoing, and a place to set things down temporarily. Some people like to have a message board in their entryway. We find we don't need that because if we have something to tell somebody, we're mostly always here. And if it's a message from my husband, we just text him. And quite honestly, I use my planner for things that would need to go on a calendar. I like having lots of baskets in my entryway though, just to toss things into. And that can change with the seasons for us. So for right now, we are in major gardening season, and I'm in and out all the time with garden seeds. So I organized my seeds in an attractive little basket that's handy to go in and out with. This is just an example of what you can do with baskets in your entryway though. I like to have an entry that's welcoming but also functional. That's going to look different for each individual and home, but when you have kids, it's a good idea to have something for shoes in the entry. Otherwise, you can have a little shoe fortress collecting right when you open the door. In fact, there may be times when you might not be able to open the door because of the shoes. Now, I'm going to be honest, having a place to actually put the shoes may not guarantee that the shoes will not pile up by the door. That's going to take some child training, most likely, potentially even a husband training, or if you have ADHD, it might even take some training for yourself. Here at our mountain homestead, I have 2 places where people enter the most. 3 actually. I have a place for shoes at each entry. I don't necessarily like people to wear shoes around the house. It wears the finish on the floors down and makes them not last as long, and of course it's just kind of gross. So we have house shoes and we have going out shoes. Helps a lot to keep the floors clean when you don't wear shoes around the house. For our entry, I found these 2 rugs. They were very affordable. I got them at a dollar store. They're my style, and so I bought 2 of them to cover up our entry area here where we need to put things that we don't necessarily want on display or, right in our face as we open the door. So what we have in our entry are some farm supplies that we use twice a day, and mainly shoes. On top, I have some pretty things, including a basket for the car keys. That way nobody ever has to go looking for them. The top of this entryway space gets cluttered really quickly because everybody is always putting things here. So to remedy that, I put a shelf that I found from the Goodwill for $5 in this empty side over here. Normally, there's also a basket for kids' items that I find throughout the house that go downstairs to their rooms. Now, your entryway area is going to be different, but the key is to find what works for your family. What is your family automatically always putting in this place? And sometimes you can train your family to stop or put it in a better place, but sometimes it's just better to work with your family and instead of fighting them, put a basket there so they can just drop their items in the basket or underneath, like the space I'm creating down here. This is the first home I've ever had an entry in. Some homes don't have one. Not only do we now have that entry right when you walk in the door, though, we also have this closet. My husband just finished it for me. I was really frustrated one day because there were no shelves and the closet wasn't finished and everything was just being piled in there to the point you couldn't find anything. So my husband worked a couple weekends and finished the closet for me, and I am so thankful, and I just love it. Here's my son. He's putting in a coat rack. If you do not have a closet near your door for things like coats, you might consider an armoire if you have a place for one. A hutch is what I used to use in our previous homes that we did not have a good entry closet for. Here I have outgoing baskets for things that are going to be donated. And since our home is still under construction, we have a place for some tools. I've also got important farm supplies, and there's a lot of space for my husband's lunch box when he comes home from work. So again, just to recap, if you want to make a big dent in how well organized your home stays, focus on the entryways. I was excited when I found gloves in a color that wasn't like bright and obnoxious. So when I was a professional photographer, something that I used to do for all of my clients, I would find out what colors they had in their home. When they would ask, what should I wear? I would always tell them, make sure you're wearing colors that you want to look at on the walls. If you don't want colors like primary colors, primary blue, primary red, think like Superman and Spider-Man. If you don't want to be looking at those colors, if they're not in your home, you might not want them in your photographs. So I kind of use the same principle whenever I'm buying something. If I have a choice of buying something in a color like the lemon color, you know, lemons, that's one thing, but to have that color on a container or gloves or something like that, that's another thing. It looks like trash if it's laying around the home. So I found that if you get something within the color palette of your home, it doesn't make the home look as cluttered when it's out. Having things in my color palette, which my color palette is earthy. I like earthy colors. I like tonal, earthy, relaxing colors. And so if I buy things in those colors that I need for my home, as I'm working, everything just kind of blends in and it doesn't look like a bunch of clutter that confuses me eventually and stops me from thinking as clearly as I could. You know, if I've got the orange or yellow gloves sitting on the counter along with a whole bunch of other things that are a bunch of wacky colors, it's going to be distracting to me visually, and it's just like, it's going to break my brain right there. Now, doing this isn't always easy to do, especially if you're on a tight budget and you don't always have a choice. You know, sometimes the choice means paying $2 for a pair of gloves versus, you know, $15 for maybe a couple of pairs. This is where quality comes into play as a heavy weighing factor. When I was younger, I always bought the cheaper option of everything. Eventually, I realized though that by doing so, I was actually spending more in the long run. So these were a little bit more on the pricey side when you compare them with the really cheap gloves. But the cheap gloves, I happen to know, don't last very long. I go through them quite quickly. So I know that I could probably buy 5 pairs of those and it will end up costing the same as this 4 pair of gloves. But these 4 pair of gloves are going to last longer because they're a lot thicker and they're a lot more heavy duty. And they're a pretty color versus an obnoxious one that is going to raise my irritation level throughout the day as I get tired as I'm working through my home. I asked you to pick up the Legos. You tell me your brother's the one who's messing it up all the time, but you're the one who's in here right now.
Yeah, I'm making this toy good.
How can you even walk in here with all of these Legos on the floor?
I got a thing, put Legos on it, and they scattered it everywhere.
Okay, well, you know what? You boys need to pick these Legos up, okay?
You.
No, you both do. Why is this piece of trash in here? Why did she bring a piece of trash into your room? That's literally a piece of trash. Or is that toilet paper? Why is that in there? You guys clean this room up. I am not a practicing minimalist, really. I used to be out of necessity because we used to be a growing family of up to 7 in less than 1,000 square feet of space. So we barely had elbow room. So I became a minimalist out of, necessity at that point. And I've kept a lot of minimalist practices. Here's what I've learned about minimalism. It has a time, it has a place, it has a season, but minimalism takes time, a lot of time, it takes mental energy. If you're spending your time and your mental energy on minimalism, you're not spending it in other areas that could be more important for the time and season. For example, you could spend your time minimalizing, or you could sit down and work on teaching a child to read. So it kind of get my drift there. Being a minimalist can get out of hand. It can kind of take over your life. And the whole point of minimalism is to get your your life back. So there's a couple things that I find that work kind of alongside with minimalism to make it, I don't know if you call it more effective, but it's essentially having some good systems in place. Definitely declutter, and you can build that as a habit, or you can just have a day of the week or a day of the month where you go around and just get rid of things that you don't need. But in addition to that, it helps to have a place or a box where you can put things for donation or charity, things that you're no longer using. Typically, it works best to have this box at an entry or close to the entry. It doesn't have to be, but typically it just works best. So I wouldn't call what I do now minimalism necessarily. I do a lot of decluttering. I try to be careful about purchases. One, because I don't want to waste money, but also I just don't want to bring things into my home if they're not going to have a purpose or a use. Something I see all of the time is where a keeper of the home, or a homemaker, does not have the right pieces of furniture or shelves to organize her home. But you know what? It doesn't always have to cost that much to find the pieces. Sometimes it just takes knowing where to go and being there at the right time. I love to frequent thrift stores and secondhand places. For example, an area in my home that's always been terribly disorganized is my makeup bin. I've always wanted a makeup desk. You know, one of those traditional desks you sit at to do your makeup and your hair and just get ready for the day. This is what I was using before, and it didn't work that well because, as you can see, there's no place to put my knees. When I need to pull out the bin, I'm actually sitting there, so I'm in the way. It was just irritating and definitely not organized. Now, I've priced makeup desks, and they're really expensive. Oh, by the way, I don't have makeup in this whole little shelf here. I've got other things like winter scarves and hats and other items. Well, I happened to be at the Goodwill. They had a desk that was so cool, totally my style, for $7. Well, I snagged that baby up right away because you can't beat $7. And I now have a makeup desk that actually has drawers, so I don't have to go digging for what I need in a bin with the items I need on the bottom all the time.
Riding out the waves, all the ebbs and flows used to bring me down. I'm stronger now, used to toss me about. I'm wiser now, feel the tide coming.
Don't laugh, but this is a moment I've waited for my entire woman life. Here we go.
I'm wiser now, used to toss me about. I'm wiser now, ride it out, ride it out.
Fun little fact. This thing looks like a bomb to children. And the way that I found out is because one day I pulled it out to use it. I don't gel my nails anymore after this study was done that said that these lights can cause or are linked to skin cancer. So I got rid of all my gel. I still have a couple of these. The only reason that I have them is just because in case I decide to get gel for a specific event or something, at least it'll have the lights. Anyways, one day, probably about 3-4 years ago, I pulled this thing out to do my nails. And my little boy says to me very negatively, "That thing's gonna blow up the whole city." I still remember it so well. "That thing is gonna blow up the whole city." Sock. Okay, we got all kinds of toys. Hey kids, come here. There's a pile of stuff on the floor here. There's a bunch of Legos and toys. There's stuff here that I think could go to something, and I don't know if we should throw it away. I don't know what this is. Are these little pieces in here trash, or are they important? Something that I've learned through the years is that it always works better to clean with your children and just kind of lead them or show them the way as you're doing it. And honestly, some kids are better than others, but I've always found that when we work together, everything goes much, much more quickly. If I say to the kids, you clean this room and I'm gonna go outside and weed the garden. I'll come in and there's hardly anything done in the house. But if I say, hey kids, let's clean up the main floor together, or let's clean up the basement together, this just works a lot better and we get done much, much faster. So in this laundry room, we had a little problem where some of the children would finish with an art project and they would come in to clean their supplies like I taught them to, but they would get paint all over the sink and the walls and it would dry. No matter how many times I asked them to rinse it when they were done, they would always somehow forget. So after scrubbing on it for probably about 15 minutes one day, I called them in to take turns and I explained to them and taught them, if you would rinse this when it's still wet, it would be very easy to clean. So my point in sharing this is by paying attention to which one of your children are making which messes and showing them how to avoid making those messes or how to clean it up before it gets worse can go a long ways and make a big difference in things getting ruined or staying in good condition longer. So essentially just child training. By the way, if you have stubborn things to clean out of laundry sinks and things like that, this abrasive cleaner, it does scratch, so you got to be careful with it, but it works really great. It worked very well for getting all the dried paint out of the sink. Right now I am getting all of the wet rags out of the sink here. If I put them in the hamper, they're going to mold and everything around them is going to mold. So what I've learned to do is hang them up, and I've got these neat little magnetic hooks that attach to this shelf, and I put the rags up here to dry. Once they're dry, then they can go in the laundry. I want to talk to you about investing in the right cleaning tools for your home. I talked about this briefly a moment ago, but I want to talk about it a little bit more in depth. Years ago, I spent around $108, I believe it was, on a mop. That mop was strong. It lasted for around 8 years, I want to say. It was 6 to 8 years. My kids would even use it, and you know how kids are. They're rough on things. Eventually it broke, and it broke about 4 years ago. Since then, I've probably spent over $108 on junk mops because I was trying to save money. Now, this applies to most cleaning tools in my experience. One of my purchasing regrets is e-cloth items. E-cloth items are made to, I guess, kind of be a knockoff of Norwex. They don't work even a fraction as well. Now, don't go get your panties in a wad thinking, oh, she's trying to sell me a multi-level marketing thing. I'm not a Norwex consultant, okay? I'm just telling you my experience and the truth in my experience. It pays off money-wise and frustration and time-wise to just get the good stuff from the get-go if you can. A lot of the products made for cleaning don't work very well if you have an unfinished home. For example, my wall duster, it doesn't work on unfinished walls. As you can see, I don't recommend e-cloth. I am throwing away all my e-cloth items. I feel like they're a joke. I hate them. This thing here is the second one I've had. They break easily. They're supposed to be, I think, be a lower, more affordable option than Norwex, but the problem with the e-cloth that I'm finding is that by the time you replace the e-cloth items, you may as well have just bought Norwex in the end. Also, the e-cloths, I can't stand the way they feel on my skin. They get caught on my skin. I don't like that. They are very uncomfortable to touch, especially if you have dry hands. It's not like that with Norwex. Norwex ones clean 7 times better than any other e-cloth is what they advertise, and it really is true. They clean much better than the e-cloth, much better than any other microfiber cloth that I've ever found. And I like that they don't get caught on your hands and stuck to your hands, you know. Norwex, I'm not a consultant. You get what you pay for. And with Norwex, I've had my Norwex cloths for going on like 9 or 10 years now. And I probably need to get some more. I know I need to get some more, partially because my kids have lost some of them. It's like, dang, those are some expensive rags to go losing or misplacing. And it's like, kids. Anyways, I don't recommend e-cloth. I'm sorry this scene turned out a little bit blurry, but the reason that I wanted to capture and show it to you is because this is an area that bothers me all the time. It's getting splashed with water all the time since it's behind our sink and it's a window. So I wanted to share a little tip with you that I've picked up. If you don't have a lot of time to clean, focus on the main areas that get the worst, that bother you the most. Floors, for example, are a really big deal. If your floors are clean, it has a way of making the whole house seem just a little bit cleaner. And think about it, the floors are one of the largest surface areas in your home aside from the walls. So if your floors are clean, you'll be cutting down on allergens and it keeps the air in your home smelling a little bit better, I think. The kitchen is definitely the most important flooring space in your home to keep clean, because from the kitchen you'll be tracking messes into the rest of the home. Of course, entryways are also kind of the same. The cleaner you can keep those two spaces, the cleaner the rest of the floors in the home will be. If your home gets super dusty, there is a trick for that. Get an air filter, an air purifier. It'll keep the air in your home cleaner and more germ-free. It'll help cut down on odors, and it will help keep the home a little bit less dusty. So I have ours, and it's kind of hidden behind the sofa. It's got enough working air around it to work properly behind the sofa. But don't forget, you have to clean the filters in these from time to time and replace them as well. So each filter will be a little bit different, but I highly recommend having one of these if you have problems with a lot of dust and allergens in your home. Once kids get to be about 9 or 10 and can reach to do their own laundry, you can assign a laundry day for each of the children that are old enough to do their own. Teach them how to do their own laundry. How many times do we hear about these kids who go off to college and don't even know how to do laundry? This is actually my oldest son's. He is an adult. He is so busy working outside running the farm, and it's been hot out, and he's just diligent. He's probably out doing something for the farm right now, so I'm gonna put these over here for him. My laundry room doesn't look organized. It is messy right now. However, it is actually pretty organized. To get it tidied up would probably take me about 15 to 20 minutes. Since this is a family laundry room, I usually call the older kids that are old enough and do their own laundry in, and we all tidy this room up together, because a lot of times I don't know what's what. Like right here, we've got a big pile of clothing, and I'm not sure whose it is, which one of the kids it is. I think it might be, it looks like it's my second oldest son's. He is notorious. He's got ADHD. He is notorious for bringing his clothes in, setting them in, and then forgetting about them because maybe somebody else is doing a load of laundry. So what we like to do is we assign a load of laundry per week. And I think the only reason these are in here today, because it's not his day, I think the only reason these are in here right now is because I made him clean his room and his laundry. He obviously missed his last laundry day because his laundry basket's overflowing here. But a lot of times, since we do have a family laundry room, I don't know what's going on in here. So I will call the kids in and we'll all tackle it together, and I'll be like, okay, is this clean or is this dirty? Because like this over here, I think these are clean. This is one of the boys' sheets, or is it? No, it's actually my sheets, but I didn't wash them. So I'm thinking somebody else washed them for me. Maybe, I'm not sure. So I gotta call them in to ask them what is going on in here. But this is normal for our laundry room. And sometimes it really bothers me how messy it gets. But I'm learning that even though it doesn't look like it, everybody is pulling their own loads when it comes to laundry, except for the youngest kids. And so it doesn't take us very long when I just say, hey, get in here, what's going on? I don't know what's up or down anymore. They come in and we hit it together when all of my children were too little to do their own laundry. So like ages 8 and below, and even I want to say 10 and below. I didn't start having my children do their laundry until I actually had teenagers. So starting at around age 10, I mean, they can be doing their own laundry. You can teach them how to do their own laundry. I did not. I didn't learn that I could do that until later. When we were all I was doing everybody's laundry for them, was, you know, overwhelming, especially as a large family. But something that I would do that you guys can do too if you've got only little children, and it really does work, is you do up their laundry. When you get it out of the clothes dryer, you just maybe turn on a show they like to watch, and you have a big laundry day, right? And you put it all on a blanket in the living room and have all the kids come in and tackle it, and and have them all find their stuff. And it's funny because there's times where we've had some kids having like underwear fights with laundry, like, these aren't mine, and they fling them at the kid that they do belong to, and so it can turn into some pretty wild times, but definitely fun. But that is something that worked really well. It took me some years to figure out, but it works really well when you've got a bunch of little children that you're doing laundry for. Do you know if these blankets are clean or dirty?
I just wanted to get them out of here because we don't need them.
They are washed?
I don't think he washed them. He just folded them and put them there.
Oh, I see.
Because he was like,
we don't need them. Yeah, it's 100 degrees outside. We definitely don't need these out right now.
In addition to the large homeschooling family, though, and the farm, I and a couple of my kids have ADHD. So this adds a new dynamic to things. For me, having things orderly and decluttering often are two secrets that help me function optimally.
I have ADHD ADHD. I also have issues with anxiety at times, and I'm not talking like anxiety about worrying about the future. I'm talking just a general feeling of what am I forgetting that I needed to do that I'm not doing. You know, when you have a lot of kids, that just kind of comes naturally, I think, to feel that way, especially if you're homeschooling them and taking on that responsibility. So because of the ADHD, I think that is probably a lot of the reason why. If I have a lot of clutter and a lot of messes starting to build up in my workspace, I cannot focus. And when I can't focus, the anxiety starts going through the roof. I start getting irritable, frustrated, can't think, can't get the job done because I can't think. You have to be able to think to get the job done.
Perhaps the single most helpful thing that I have learned helps me in managing my home, my children's homeschool, our homestead, and just life is having a planner and a place to get things out of my head on paper. For myself, when I'm not using it, I'm not as productive. I feel kind of like a rag doll getting whipped around, and I never know whether I'm coming or going, how much I've gotten done or how much there is left to do.
I don't know if it's my age. I don't know if it's that I'm, perimenopausal and my mind is just like, oh God. But if it's not in the planner, it's not going to happen. And my whole family has kind of started to pick up on this. I've many times had to remind my family, you can tell me, but by the time I walk into the next room, I will not, it will be a forgotten thought. So if you want it to get done, you need to write it on the planner. Otherwise, it's probably not going to get done because I won't remember if it's not on the planner. So I have planners for everything. I've got paper. This is my little binder, I guess holder, you could call it, this thing right here. And in this, I keep my kids' homeschool planner. So they just pull this out whenever they need to know what they're supposed to be doing in school, and that's this planner. I have one of these for my work. I have this main one, and it is everything homemaking, farm related, homesteading related, and just daily planner related. I found it works best for me to have the homemaking, the homesteading, the farming, all of that in one, and the homeschool stuff separate, and then my work stuff mainly separate. But if it wasn't for these planners and, utilizing these planners, I would probably be maybe a quarter as productive as I am, because I would never know, if I'm coming or going or what's up from down. If you don't have a good planner, I do have one available in my shop. You can check that out in the links below.
I find that a planner is a make or break difference in keeping the family organized. Didn't show it, but I even have a little binder with a cleaning checklist for each area of the house. This simplifies cleaning days drastically. Having a cleaning checklist in a binder where everybody knows where it is makes it so that everybody can go directly to the binder. They can pick an activity for whatever room or floor we're cleaning. Since we started using the checklist in the binder, we are able to get our house cleaned in record time, working together as a team. Everybody can kind of pick and choose what they prefer to do, so there's less grumbling and more time for free time. Speaking of free time, don't forget to reward your kids for helping out cleaning the house. I know they live there too. I know that they're the ones making the main messes, but if you don't reward your kids, they're going to lose spirit. For us moms, having a clean home is a reward in itself. It's not like that for the kids. Make them cookies. And if you've got little bakers, let them make cookies if they want to make them. Take them to do a fun activity like to the beach or something. If you have a reward for them, it really motivates them to do more than they might have done. Isn't this a cute little nifty broom? It's narrow, perfect for doing the stairs. Okay, really briefly, I have to explain what's happening here. Remember those sheets that I thought were clean? Maybe, potentially, perhaps? Well, after going through all this work of getting these on, I realized they were not, in fact, clean. I got them on the bed, and I realized they were filthy. So I have to take them off and remake the bed. All right, back to what I was saying about the planners. I'm a very visual person. Being able to see what needs to be done written out on paper makes a big difference. Now, with that said, I only sit down on Sundays and sit and plan out my week. Most of the planning that I do is actually done while I'm up moving about my house. And that is the trick to the planner for me. Some people say that the planner just doesn't work, That's part of why. I find when I'm up moving around my house, that's when my brain is like jogged to remember all of the things because I'm seeing them, and it'll get overwhelming really quickly. So if I just go write it down on the planner, then I don't forget that they needed to be done. This helps me tremendously. Another key for myself that I found is to have an undated planner. If I have a dated one, there will be weeks that I'm not using the planner sometimes. So it ends up being wasted pages. So I found an undated planner works the best. I actually worked with a designer, Crystal from New Shop Designs, and together we made an amazing ultimate mom planner. We've got a homeschool mom planner, we've got a work from home mom planner, and just a homemaking mom planner. A little pillow trick here, double wrap your pillowcases to keep the pillows cleaner. And another trick is to turn your pillowcase inside out and put it on. That way they go on a lot easier if you turn them inside out first.
I am a really big believer based on my past 20 years experience living in, well, homes that didn't always feel like they quite met our needs. So if you watch some of my other videos, you know all about it. But we have lived in some pretty impoverished situations and we have a large family. So I have come to learn there is very little, there are things, but there are very few things that bug you about your home that there is nothing you can do to fix it. In other words, there's always something, if you're creative enough and problem solving enough, there's always something you can do to fix whatever it is in your home that is just driving you completely batty and nuts. So for me, recently, one of them was books. We're a homeschool family. We have a ton of books, a lot of books, and they're always in our environment. They need to be. If they're not out in our environment, we won't remember to read, we won't remember to do the work. And so we have, even though we have a schoolroom, even though we have a library, we still have books in our presence, in my face, all the time. So my solution to that is to come up with a creative way to store the books in our environment where we can see them, but not in a way where they're in your face. So seeing behind me, I actually have a whole load of books and they're hiding. I'll show you where they are. Well, what's really great about this is when I or my husband sit down, this is our spots. When we sit down, the books are right next to us within reach. Please ignore my unfinished windows, but I will show you these because I want you to see something. A lot of people don't realize that these windows are not finished. They used to have a whole bunch. Well, look up here, you can still kind of see. There was that expanding foam insulation and it was expanding out into the space, completely unfinished, kind of like that piece down there. And it looked very bad. It was very noticeable, but by trimming it out and cutting out the excess, you hardly even notice it. Now, of course, someday we're going to get these trimmed when we can. There's just so many things that are left to do around this place that we have just to do on our to-do list, and that's just another one of them.
Something that the Lord has taught me in my homemaking journey is that even if your home isn't that cleanable, even if you have cardboard on your floors as part of your floors, or if you have very cheap floors that are essentially those cardboard floors, if your home is just not very nice, clean it anyways. Doing so will make you feel better about the space. And you must take into consideration that if you're a Christian, the Lord comes into your home. He sees how you're keeping it. Something that has always kind of struck me is Luke 16:10, and it reads, "One who is faithful in very little is also faithful in much, and one who is dishonest in very little is also dishonest in much." There's another verse that comes to mind too, though. Matthew 25:29. "To him who has, more will be given, but whoever does not have, even what he has will be taken away." And I think that gratitude is part of this. Something that's gotten me through some of our living situations that were really hard was going from room to room and thanking God for the space in each room. If you're constantly feeling like, I don't have enough, will the Lord be ecstatic about giving you more? If it's never going to be enough, I mean, why would he? So this is why I really believe it is a sweet offering to the Lord when we do take care of what he's given us, even if what he's given us doesn't seem like very much, even if what he's given us is cardboard. Seriously, I cleaned this table off less than an hour ago. This is the truth. This is how it goes. You get it cleaned up and you turn around and here's how it is again. I've got this one child who I've been working with to clean up her messes when she's done. When she creates an art project, she always leaves quite awake. And so I've just been working with her on remembering to pick it up when she's done. It's been a challenge. And that's how it is for a lot of creatives though, isn't it? Okay, one of the last pieces that I have, last tips for cleaning and organizing your home and keeping it that that way is to create systems. So what I mean by this is to have a day of the week that you dedicate to cleaning the kitchen, and then having another day of the week that you dedicate to cleaning the house, and make it a habit. You may not always be able to get to it on that day. I used to be able to, after I had kids starting to enter our home high school, I wasn't able to keep up with all of that anymore. So nowadays we get to the big house cleaning, the bulk of it, at least twice a month. That's our goal. That's what we aim for. But we do daily tidy ups as part of our system. So once a day, doesn't take us very long at all. The maximum it takes is 20 minutes, but usually maybe only 10. But as a team, we all run around together and pick up after ourselves. This helps keep things orderly and functioning. So yeah, we can be like a tornado and go around and make a mess, but just like the same tornado, we can run around and get it cleaned up almost just as fast. Actually, faster. I hope this video has been a blessing to you. Leave a comment below and tell me some of your favorite cleaning and organizing secrets.